Yo, what's going on, beautiful people? No, I'm not. I am Aaron Leroy, and I have taken over Tales from the Shaker. I'm so excited. If you've been following this podcast for a couple years, you already know what time it is. I get the distinct honor and privilege to interview this wonderful visionary, this amazing mother, wife, entrepreneur, fashionista. Man, the list goes on. Like, I mean, clinical counselor. Like, what else? She's, by the time this podcast episode, you'll be an author.
Yeah.
A little tad bit sneak peek. Listen,
it's a little sneaky deaky.
it's a little sneak. I'm not gonna waste any time, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to her show, Miss Davia Williams-Stevenson.
You are a whole fool, but that's okay.
I'm just saying, because I mean, we'll be here all day if I read off your whole resume. I mean, if you don't know her, make sure you do your own Googles. Let me tell you, this woman is phenomenal. This is literally, you became like a friend. It went from business to now, here we are. I'm get to interview you on your own podcast.
I know, I love that. And since we're friends now, I'm going to get a discount. I love it. I love it. I just appreciate it. You got to work that. Yeah.
So, I mean, for people who may not know anything about you, like this is their first time clicking on YouTube or Instagram, tell the people, who is Davia Williams-Stevenson?
Well, gosh, it sounds different coming from your mouth, but who I am, I like to distinguish from the things that I do. So who I am is a child of God. Who I am is still evolving, actually. I'm still even learning. Part of my message to others is that you continue to become more self-aware, to learn about yourself, to own your own stuff, right? To look at those things that are hard and ugly, but also to celebrate those things that are evolving and beautiful. And so I am courageous.
Yes.
I would say a measured risk taker. I'm not all the way out there, but people say if you jump from a perfectly good airplane, you're not so measured in your risk taking. So I've done that too. I am the wife of Eric Stevenson, my college sweetheart and the love of my life. I have two amazing sons, Tyler and Evan, and their beautiful wives, and a granddaughter, Chloe and Lauren, and a granddaughter, Serenity, who is just the absolute delight of my life, and a blessing I didn't know to hope for. And those who know a bit about my story would know that, you know, there have been some reasons for me to not be so sure I'd be here at this stage of life. So I'm grateful to be. I am grateful. That is who I am. I am grateful. I'm grateful for life. I'm grateful for love. I'm grateful for opportunities to grow and to learn and to inspire others to do the same. That's what I am.
I love that.
Some of the things I do is I get to be a counselor. I get to be a coach, a life coach, and I particularly love working with couples and individuals. I get to write my first book. I'm excited about that. And I know it's the first one. I think this one was really about obedience, doing it. It's almost like a barrier breaking, and I've had a hard time releasing it. I have a coach, and she's like, you have to release. You've got to stop correcting and editing. You've got to release it. You got to release the baby. And I'm like, but what if my baby's ugly? You know? And she said, your baby would not be ugly.
That part, okay.
Release it. And so it's coming. It's coming. I am finishing up another one with a little tweak, but it's coming. And I'm excited about that. Entrepreneurial pursuits with my husband, and my counseling practice is my own. So I'm figuring some things out, trying some new things.
I love it. I love it. You have a multiplicity of gifts, talents that God has given you. Tell the people again who may not know you, like, how did you even end up here having your own podcast? Like, was this something you always dreamed of? Because again, from counseling, life coaching, entrepreneur, even going through certain, you may hit on this, but health challenges, like walk us through kind of those journeys, and then how you ended up here with Tales from the Shaker.
You know, I always, it was very organic, and much in my life has not been linear, and this wasn't either. Honestly, when I started thinking about doing a podcast, I didn't really know what they were, and I didn't really listen to them like that. I was thinking about blogging. It kind of started with dealing with some losses in my life, and I thought it might be helpful for me to document my grief process, and that's how it started. Just the intention was to do some little Facebook posts and document my grief process. It turned into sharing those things that I felt God showed me in my quiet time. So it became on other topics like forgiveness or this or that. I like to entertain and or host people. I don't say entertain and I'm entertaining, but I love to welcome people into my home and to care for them and make them feel special. And so we've also enjoyed cocktail making. And so I did a couple, you actually called you did a couple of those videos for me. And people had such a great response to them. It was like, well, how could I, is there a way to combine the two? And so hence Tales from the Shaker was born. That's the title. And the shaker has a number of meanings, of course. It's not just the cocktail shaker, actually minimally the cocktail shaker, to be honest with you. It's about the individual that I speak to who's a mover and a shaker in their own lives. And they don't need to be a big deal. They could be your neighbor next door. I think some of your most amazing stories of inspiration come from people you don't even know their stories, what people are going through. And if they're willing to share, it can be inspiring to you. And the shaker then is any kind of event or circumstance that shook them up, caused them to try a new thing, learn a new thing, find a passion or a purpose. And so I think my shaking circumstance that led to a podcast was grief. It was grief. Lost someone that was like a daughter to me. And then my dog, my beloved dog, in 24 hours. To some people, that's not a big deal. I'm telling you, that was a big deal. Bailey been my companion for 14 years, and he was killed tragically. And so I stepped away to try to deal with that. And I say, learn, grow, and inspire others to do the same. I started sharing, and there was a response to that. And so then I thought, well, maybe I'm supposed to blog. And I'm like, but I'd much rather talk. Like, you see how long it's taking me to get this book out. Like, so a stranger, someone who was a stranger at the time, inspired me, challenged me to do a podcast. And here we are. I tried it. I didn't really know what I was doing. Surround myself with some folk who knew what they were doing, you and others. And I absolutely love this space. Wow. It feels natural. It feels like it captures all those things that I love. I get to promote people and their stories and share those spaces that would be inspirational to others. I get to have you at my home and entertain you. I'll make a cocktail or a mocktail in your case, or sometimes tea, coffee, whatever. Yep. And there are days when I'm organized and it comes with a little food or snack. Sometimes it's all you get. But sometimes my clinical expertise comes into play. So I think much of who I am seems to have coalesced in this space, and I really love it. I don't know where it's going to go. It may be small forever, and it'll still. I know there are people who are touched.
Yes.
And because they let me know that.
Yes.
And that's meaningful to me.
Well, I can honestly say that I'm one of those individuals who have been touched immensely by you, not just because on this podcast. Like, it's just a blessing to know you outside of this, to really break bread with you, to really do life with people. Doing life with people means spending time with people. Yeah, it does. You can't do life and not spend time. And I just want to say thank you for allowing me and hosting me to come in here and take a chance on me. With this, we're on season 3. Like you said, it started upstairs with just one.
Yeah, we got plans for 4, y'all. Come on. I'm excited about what we're going to do next.
I think people don't understand of staying the course.
Yeah.
Can you hit on that about staying the course with anything? Because again, you had a full-time occupation as a clinical counselor, and you took a leap of faith to take a step back and to pursue your dream, to pursue your dreams. Talk to that individual who is stuck, wanting to pursue something that they know God has given them in their heart, but it's a challenge to give up what was.
There was a number of those stages. So I was a stay-at-home mom for almost 20 years. So leaving and going, my youngest had gone to, he was a freshman in high school when I went to grad school. So that was a new leap. I'm going to go to grad school and try this new career. And as that developed and developed a reputation in that space, best you can when you're a professional secret keeper. There's stories I don't tell. But, and stepping out to do this was another just thing to try. I think I'm learning, continue to learn, to push through those places that are fearful for me. I am having to practice what I preach, and I'm confronted with it on the regular. catching limiting thoughts, limiting beliefs. One of my limiting thoughts, I've shared it with you before, is that, why you wait so long? You're 60 years old and now you're trying something, who does that? And I didn't have older women, everyone that were my kind of my mother figures, my mom, including my aunt and her best friend, they were kind of my mother figures. They were all gone about by 60. And so I never saw anyone do life after this age. And so I have no blueprint, so I guess I got to make it up, right? So here we go. There was another part to your question. You asked, how did I get here?
The courage.
The courage is a thing, pushing through limiting beliefs,
Yes.
Learning from failure, pushing through fear. I think for me, others may say different, business coaches, I've released outcomes. Some work toward an outcome. I work toward, I have places I want to go, but that's been evolving as I step into one space and I see some other things. Step into here, I see some other things. Things open up. So I can't say that I started this podcast with the intention of promoting a book or of who knows what this will become, right? I didn't have all of that in my purview, but my ambition, my ability to dream has grown in the process. I do remember before I went to grad school, going through a season where I felt like I'd forgotten how to dream. My dreams, though useful, though good, was important to me and my husband, our plan for me to stay home and raise our boys, support him in his career as well as our own joint entrepreneurial pursuits. I'm proud of that. But I would say that I allowed my dreams to become very practical, kind of centered within the walls of my home. That's just fine for some. There was anything wrong with that. But I tell you, a dream for me was I got all the laundry done and everybody where they were supposed to be on time. And and there are those who dream to have that life.
Yeah.
It was a good life. Don't hear the specifics of the dream as being, it's got to be yours, however it is for you. But I knew that there was a time for me to start. As my boys were moving on, there was something more to do. And I didn't know how to get there or what it would be. And so I just prayed about it. I started asking the Lord to show me how to dream. Give me dreams.
Wow.
And little by little, I started having ideas. And then there was grad school. And then there was, private practice. And then there was... And now I got some things.
Yes.
I got some dreams. I have some things that were not there.
Yes.
Something from nothing. This podcast was not a thing and now it is.
Yes.
Right? The book that I've written, it was not a thing and now it is. There are a number of those. It wasn't a thing and now it is. And so this ability to create or opportunity to create is, may sound redundant, but it's life-giving in its own cycle, if that makes some sense.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
The scripture says he's a lamp unto our feet and a light unto our path. So he lights up what's ahead of us. Although the vision is, we see the end of the tunnel, the vision, the light, but I'm going to give you the ingredients. The details is for us to walk it out. And I feel like as you have been walking, I feel like new dreams, new ideas,
for sure,
new visions have come about.
And greater confidence, because I didn't know how to do anything I'm doing.
Now it feels like it's just so easy now. Now it's so easy.
Okay, this feels right. That's not hard. What's the next hard thing? And you likened it to faith, and I like that. I think doubt is a part of faith. I think it's we talk about Thomas as doubting Thomas. I think of Thomas as confirmation Thomas. Thomas has some questions.
He did,
and he asked the Lord. And he wouldn't have been the only one to think them.
Not at all.
And he asked him, and he confirmed who he was by Thomas's question.
Yes.
And there were others who said, I believe, help my unbelief, that space. And so I think even self-doubt is a part of growth.
Yes.
Doubting your space in your role, doubting you can do some things until you ask the question or do the thing. Then you get an answer that confirms the next step.
Yes.
And that's how it feels to me.
I feel like, to me, what I see in this generation at times is, I think, to me personally, I feel like we lost the art of curiosity. Being curious again, dream again, to try new things. The curiosity aspect, because again, Thomas was curious. He started asking questions, and I think what we have done as a disservice in our generation is not ask questions. You know, I think
we get entrenched in opinions.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I feel like when we bring curiosity back, I feel like a lot more people will feel the freedom, the liberation to be exactly who God has called them to be, irregardless of what people may say or what people may do. When you get free from the opinions of men and the fear of men, there's no limits or heights to where you could go. And I just feel like that's something where I literally, again, watched you grow from faith to faith, like, and how you stepping out on this and talking about new things that you're doing. Can you tell us, or not yet, about this book that you're writing?
It's very much consistent with the messages that I share in my conversations with people, and the things you see me post. It's about taking care of yourself. I want to elevate it to talking about your soul. There's much in social media about self-care. We talk about Self-Care Sunday, and I love all that. I just came back from vacation. You know, I went to the spa and got some sun. And so, you know, like I did those things. If you are privileged to get a massage or get your nails done or go on vacation or whatever, do them. Do those things. But I think to really care for yourself is to nurture your soul. And the way you do that is you deal with your stuff. You learn how to set boundaries. You evaluate your priorities. You do the grief. You do the grieving and loss. So many of our things are tied to grief. A personal story, when my mother died, I didn't know. I didn't grieve her, didn't even begin grieving her for about 4 years. I learned that because I was my first counselor. I went to my first counselor. But other things were blowing up in my life. I was shutting down in some ways. I was short. I felt disconnected. And I went for counseling. And what I've learned I thought, well, yes, I've grieved. I've been sad for 4 years. I've gained 20 pounds, eating chocolate chip cookies and drinking milk. And I got pregnant again. And like, I'm taking care of I grieved. Like, well, no, I was sad. I was sad and I missed her. But I don't know that I did the work of grieving allows you to make some meaning. And allows you to, like when you first lose someone, it's my dear sainted mom, all the things that mom was, all those things. But my mom was a real person with some stuff. She had issues. We had some negative interactions. There are some wounds from her loving parenting, right, that I carry. And I know there are wounds from my attempt at loving parenting that my kids will carry. But I miss the whole woman. The lessons that I learned, I can appreciate her in context. Like this thing that she did that was not healthy for her came from this thing that she probably didn't process. And so I learned that it was unprocessed grief. And when I really allowed myself to go into that space, and there's no formula for it, I came out a lot healthier. My mom has been gone for 32 years. She's with the Lord, so she's not missing me like I'm missing her, right? Thank goodness. Yeah. She's living the promise of glory that we hope for. But there are still times when what would mom say? I didn't get the opportunity to grow into friendship with my mother. I was a young mom, wife and mother when she died, but I had to figure that part out by myself. Things that I remembered, I emulated some things I didn't want to emulate. Right? I don't know how I got off on all this, what the question was, but yeah, do you remember what the question was?
No, it's about your book. No, this is about your book.
This is what a counseling session is like with me too. My examples have examples, and I'm like, look, just come along for the journey.
I'm here for the journey.
Maybe there's something you can pick up along the way. Call me back if it's important.
This is your show. This is I love because you're talking about showing up for yourself.
Yeah,
I think
I'm learning to do that.
And because I lost my father back in 2009, and I wish I had a Davia back then. But one thing that was hard for me, I didn't know, and maybe even speak to this. You gave some examples how to still show up while grieving, though.
Yeah.
I think that is the tension a lot of people sit in. Like, how do you literally take the time to grieve, but still show up for family, for work, for loved ones, for responsibilities? How can you explain? I mean, you explained a little bit from your situation, but even from a counselor perspective, like what are some tips and ways that you could still show up, or do you not show up?
Yeah, I think it's all true, right? You mentioned the tension. And I often feel in most situations, the truth lies in the tension. Yeah. The tension is necessary for both things to happen. Tension is necessary for you to move through. The tension is necessary to make you sit down. Sometimes you need to sit down. And if there's some way in your circumstance, everybody can't. Everybody can't take time off. Everybody can't, right? If you can and you need to do that, then be courageous enough to do that. That's what I did when I sat down. When I said I'm going to do some grieving time, I sat down. I took a leave of absence from work. I was able to do that. Everybody can't. Still had the tension though. I still had the tension. I had to work through sadness, frustration, anger. Like, I'm going to need you to explain this plan, God. Because it didn't make any sense to me that we lose my mom at this young age or that I lose my goddaughter at this young. She had a baby when she died. She was a year and a half old, not even quite. That didn't seem fair. But I know that God is good. And I have seen incredible blessing come even in her transition and thereafter.
Wow.
If we trust, we want to define the healing. We want to define, if you show up, Lord, like this, and you do these things, then and this is the outcome, I will make you famous, and I will. But we want to bargain with him, and we don't have any chips. When you bargain, you got to have some.
How about that?
We got nothing. Okay, we got no chips, and so. A lot of my story, and I think a lot of people's, is when I talk about I release outcomes. I don't want to release outcomes. I don't always do that well. Like we say, what are the tips and tricks? Live your life. There are no tips. There are concepts and principles. And I always say, what leads to the most freedom? Make the next decision that leads to the most freedom. And don't outsource your pain.
Wow.
And that's what we do.
Wow.
We're like, this is too hard. I'm going to do this thing to distract myself or to numb myself from the pain. And unfortunately, sometimes when we outsource, we choose things that carry their own set of problems, and it didn't solve the pain either. You're still going to deal with the pain at some point, right? And so Jesus, when you even look in scripture, like there's many words of description around the experience of pain from the Old Testament and the New Testament. It's part of our image bearing. Having emotions, even negative emotions, is how we show up as creation, as the creation, right? So I think the biggest thing is our fear of addressing pain and or guilt that I'm kind of relieved that this person is gone. Everybody's relationship with someone they lose has not been blessed. For some, it's like, my tormentor is gone and I feel relief. How am I supposed to tell somebody that there's no prescription for that, there's no card for that? Sorry you lost your mom, but congratulations. Right?
Yeah.
Those are real experiences too.
100%.
That people have to deal with, right? Or say you lose someone who dies by suicide. There's no card in Hallmark or anywhere else for that. It's a disenfranchised grief. But it's a grief nonetheless.
Wow.
You got your opportunity is to lean in and go through whatever that looks like for you. And I think that's the hard part, because no one can tell you exactly what it looks like. These are the steps. If you go through these steps, we talk about the stages of grief that, Kubler-Ross's stages of grief. And she would tell you herself that was a misdescription of her work. They're not stages that happen one in another. They're elements that some people experience that may be cyclical. Like I said, my mom's gone 32 years. This past year, 2023, was a tough year. I think I missed her more than I did in 2011. You know what I mean? It's just different. But I'm okay with it because I'm not afraid of the pain. And I've been through a number of things for which I don't know why they happened or how they're going to turn out. But something happens.
Something always happens.
Something turns out.
Yes.
And here I am.
Here you are.
Right? And so are you and the next person.
Wow. So
I think the benefit of aging and of doing these things that I'm doing now at this stage in my life is that failure is not so scary. Success is not required, or it's up for my determination.
Yes.
Right. Someone asked me a question, what is the secret to your success? I'm like, that's subjective.
It definitely is.
Like,
So how do
somebody
you
may
measure
see this as
success?
successful.
Exactly.
Somebody else in this space are like, she's just a little baby. She's not done anything. She needs sponsorships. She needs sponsorships. Right. You know what I'm saying? I mean, that's subjective.
It is. It is. And that's one thing I've been learning, even as an entrepreneur myself. Like, again, how do you define success, right?
Yeah.
Over time, I realized that I'm already successful by what Christ has done for me as a faith believer. It's like everything else is a secondary consequence as being a son.
That's
like
good.
to me, being a son is the ultimate aspect.
Come on,
you know, seriously. So, but I ain't here to preach. I'm just saying.
You can't help yourself. You're gonna do that wherever you are. That's okay, and we receive all of that.
Yes.
Because I know little bits of your journey, and that's a journey too, right? So, I don't have. I think I'm getting more and more comfortable with not having answers, with knowing that pain usually produces something, right? I haven't died from anything painful yet, including things that were set out to kill me.
That's a word.
Right?
Come on.
But I have grown from it, and I've grown credibility, and I've grown muscle, and I've grown courage. So we delay the receipt of those things when we don't lean in.
I can honestly say, and I probably speak for a lot of people, we are blessed that you are here, a 2-time cancer survivor. Again, if you want to hear her story, go on her YouTube page. She goes into depths about that. Just an array of other things that you have been able to overcome in this life. And you are a living testimony of God's goodness and his grace. And again, I'm blessed just to know you. And I don't say that because lights and cameras are on. Like, you know, we say this all the time behind the scenes, and it's truly is an honor. You did say something though. You said, I may not have the answer. So with that being said, you may not have the answers for these. Because listen, y'all, we made a poll a couple weeks ago and said,
was smooth.
Ask Davia some questions. Y'all put a lot of questions in here. I guess we can have as much time as we want. It's your show. So, but they had a lot of questions for you. Okay. So,
and thank you for that.
Yes, thank you all for
those who engaged and responded on Instagram, and those who sent me emails. I really appreciate it. I couldn't do all of them, but I got a few. They were kind of in categories. So some of them will capture, one question may capture, I think, what several were.
Absolutely.
Asking.
So I'm just going to bounce between these, but I love this one. It says, what drives you?
What drives me? The honest answer depends on the day.
Today, how you feeling today? What drives you? What's driving you today?
Today I'm rested. I'm feeling, but no, I mean that's real. I don't always feel driven, but I think the things that fuel me. Maybe that's the same question, but that's the word I'm going to use. Is I really okay? All right. Here's the real deal.
Yeah, get it real.
You share some of my story, right? The cancer surviving, and please go. I won't go into depth into those stories, but each of my cancer stories were these phenomenal things that affirmed my faith and that God was involved in moving people and places and things around. And there has been a space in me, and I know some of that is my, maybe distorted a little bit theology. I get that. I get that, but I'm just being real. That I just want to live up to the effort. God made a lot of efforts to keep me here for some reason, and I don't want to waste it. There's a lot of people I know along my journey, some of them walking similar paths that are not here, and here I am. And so there's a debt of gratitude that I feel that I carry. I know I can never pay God back for that. I do. Like, I know this part. There's a space in me that's driven. And so what I'm driven to do is encourage people. That's what I'm driven to do. I'm driven to share stories.
Yes.
Have conversations. Like, I love to learn. And like you talk about that curiosity, I can learn from anybody. I don't always learn in a moment. Sometimes I put the hand up like anybody else is, and it's like, okay, maybe, But that's my motivation. I think encouraging people, helping folks to become their best. And in the process, I learn as well to become better.
You answer that one. You got an answer for that one.
Okay, good. Yeah.
Here's a good one too.
Okay.
How do you choose your guests? And then on top of that, who would be your dream guest? Outside of me, who would be your dream guest?
Just outside of you.
Outside of me, of
Yeah.
course. Like, it's duh.
Okay. So first season 1, I asked my friends. I asked my friends, but I'm blessed to be around people with incredible stories or incredible conversations. I remember talking to my first guest was Rich and Shala Johnson. They pastor a church, and it was their 20th anniversary, and they're just the coolest people. And they agreed to be the first guest on my podcast, and that was a wonderful conversation. And don't have the whole order of every episode in my head, but my friend Nike, who is also a cancer survivor, she's a quieter person when it comes to sharing things that are personal, but she agreed to do that. And we talked about the blessing on the other side of cancer. What do you do after life gives you news that changes everything? But these are people I know that sit next to me that we spend time with. And then my totally unscripted conversation with Damia Kandai at any moment with her. Like we laugh about, we take notes when we have conversations. So that was funny, but it was on friendship and it was phenomenal. So I asked people that I knew. And then second season, there were a few people that approached me. I'm like, wait, what is this? So I really did get to learn them along with the audience. And I remember that experience with Mike Nicholson, and he had something he wanted to talk about. We weren't sure where we were going to go. I had a couple of avenues I thought we might take based on some of what I'd seen, I actually approached him, I don't think he asked me. But still, I didn't know where that conversation was going to go, and we learned that together. And season 3 was a combination of people who reached out, or sometimes it's a random conversation somewhere. I'm like, that's interesting. Would you be willing to flesh that out? It's very organic. Yeah. I do think about having an array of people. I want to have some women. I want to have some men. I want to have different perspectives. I want to do some different combinations, different things for next season. So I think about that. I actually, this for season 4 that we I'm really going to tease you. I'm going to love this season 4. I'm being planful, and I'm going after some people that we'll see.
So who?
We'll see. So dream guests.
Dream guests.
Yes. So dream guests. There's a few, and they're all in that same space. I think they're doing a similar thing. They're pushing conversations, or they're trying to encourage people. I am a fan of Emmanuel Acho. Does anybody want? That young brother.
Yes.
Started out with difficult conversations or awkward conversations with a Black man, and he's moved that into some other spaces. I find him very inspirational. I really like talking with him. I would love to talk with him. I love listening to him. I love what he's doing. I think it's moving the conversation forward, and people are learning and being inspired by him. Like shoot for the stars. Michelle Obama. You free?
Yeah,
next
you free.
season? Are you free next season? Come through. I won't keep you long. There's someone I'm going to approach this season who doesn't have that kind of fame yet, although she hangs with some pretty big dogs, because she's a real big dog. I'm not going to put her name out there because I am going to ask her. I'm hoping she'll say yes.
Okay.
But you'll see. I'm thinking we'll see. But she does incredible work with using her influence and her. She's a badass businesswoman, but is doing some amazing things with empowering women. So that would be a few. Who wouldn't want Oprah? I would love to endorse me, sis. Come on.
Period. Period.
Let me step in your space. You get some rest now. I got you. That would be amazing. But I would say those. I want to talk to people who are doing things that encourage people. So that's the profile of my dream guest, whether they have a big name or not.
I love that.
Yeah.
So somebody in your community was very prophetic because they asked a question we've been kind of tossing around for a while now, talking about season 4. They said, have you ever thought about hosting a small gathering with people in the studio with you?
Oh, like a
live audience.
Yes.
So whoever asked that,
we
y'all
must
been
be onto something,
we onto
because
something.
that we are talking about doing some different formats, and that was one, doing a live audience. So we're gonna look into that for next season. So thank you for confirming that. And she was very specific. She gave some like tiny desk with this many people. So thank you. I think that was I saw that on Instagram. That's Raina. Come on, Raina. I know you're
We
going to watch this
appreciate
because
you.
you're such a supporter. So thank you for that question.
So y'all stay tuned.
Yeah.
Season 4. There's a lot of things that. So y'all stay tuned.
Yeah.
Season 4. There's a lot of
We're
things
going to do
that.
some new things.
Yes, a lot of new things.
Yeah.
And I guess you kind of hit on this, but the last one they said, what is the biggest factor in your success?
Okay. So again, with success being relative, for me, what feels successful in those things is, first of all, my faith, challenging limiting beliefs. And I have to tell you, my friends, I have some incredible friendships. They're the people that, when I said, hey, I'm going to write a book. And I actually hired a coach to help me keep it moving. They're like, when is the book launch? Oprah's bestseller. I'm like, I have not written a word. I've just signed a contract and paid a deposit. Like those, but there are also the people that would say, yeah, that's trash. You can do better. Because I know. And I could receive that without it being a personal injury. So I really believe that many of the women that are in my inner circle were divinely put there, and they fuel me in ways that I don't. We kind of tell each other we love each other all the time. So I think we kind of know what we do for each other, but that's huge. And then I just think about who's out there who is getting their fellowship from social media or from YouTube. You lonely, and this all you got, right? No, I mean, life is like, sometimes life isolates you like
That's
that.
true.
And if you could come to my YouTube page and or listen to our podcast and feel like somebody sees you, or there's somebody that won't judge you. I actually got a request for if I would take them as a client, someone who says, I've been watching you.
Wow.
I see what you're saying on your podcast, and I'm looking at your Instagram, and I've been wanting to go to a counselor or get some help for a long time, and I never saw anybody that drew me. Would you consider taking me even virtually? Wow. And so that was I'm very honored by that, so that's who it's for that person. Yeah. For the one. Yeah. Yeah. Right. Leave the 99. Go get the one.
Go get the one.
Go get the one.
In the words of Davia, I hate to end this podcast. And how do you say it again?
I don't know.
You always say something so clever and things of that nature.
Thank you. It's off the cuff.
It is.
Oh, you know what? Somebody did ask me a question about. I saw it on. How do I know what question I want to ask or something like that? I don't know if I wrote that down. How do I know what question?
How do you decide what question to ask?
Yeah, and I don't decide. It really is a conversation. It is unscripted, like this. Yeah, but the great stuff comes out of that. I mean, I might know a little bit about your story when we're doing our B-roll. I'm like, is there anything you don't want to talk about? Make sure I don't hit on, because I don't want to bring anybody out of anything they're not ready for. I don't want to shame anybody. We try to hit that. Yeah. If you've got a special project or something I can promote for you, how would you like me to shape that? But otherwise, we sit down and we see what happens. And you flow. I love it.
And you do a phenomenal job at it. It's a real art. It's not easy getting behind here, pulling from people's stories to really open up. And I just want to say, job well done.
Thank you.
Keep going. It's an honor and privilege to serve alongside you on this journey. I really mean that. My last question for you.
I really appreciate this discount.
Of course, you motivated me. Like you said, you motivated me. I got to get back on my podcasting show. Now you're on season 4. I haven't started season 1 yet.
That's okay. So
but it's coming.
You know the journey. But your transitions were incredible.
So
do you want? I should probably share the drinks.
Yes, share the drink. Before we share the drinks, though, I do want to ask you the one last question. Mm-hmm. What is next for Davia?
Well, I don't fully know. I think the book coming out is the very next thing. That's the very next thing, and that should be soon. We're working on growing the YouTube following. It's small but mighty, but we need it bigger. Y'all. Help us to start.
Make sure y'all subscribe and follow the whole 9.
And follow, leave comments.
Yes.
Ask questions, engage in any way you can, you want to. And then we'll see. I'm really excited about season 4. Yes. I really want to plan. We're gonna have a whole thing. We got to finish planning that out. How we're gonna change things up without it losing the character, the soul of what it is. The goal will
Absolutely.
still be the same, but we're just gonna freshen it up a little bit. So that's what's next. I'm gonna continue to enjoy watching my old granddaughter grow. I get to keep her one day a week.
Yes.
And that has shortened my availability to some things because nothing takes away from her day. I get her one day a week, and she has my attention for that day. So that's a blessing I never knew I'd have because I never expected to. I didn't know I was going to have kids, let alone get to be a grandmother, right? So that's all that fruit of releasing expectations and just living in gratitude as much as I can.
Yes.
It's a discipline. I don't always feel grateful. There's hard stuff in my life, right? It's real. It's a real part. I got a therapist, y'all. Like, you know, but I'm doing those things that keep me challenged and growing and healthy. That's my pursuit. To show up at the gates, right? When God says it's enough days for you, I want him to know that I tried to live as the me you created. So I'm coming back to you. Hopefully I lived out those things that you put in me for your glory.
Phenomenal. Well, I'm excited about your next.
Yeah,
I really,
me too.
really, really am. So again, it's an honor and it really is a
100%.
privilege to know you from the bottom of my heart. So thank you
Yeah.
for your yes. So
Thank you for coming from behind the camera
Yes.
and all that stuff. You know, I'm glad
It
you
was-
get me established before you take off on
Whatever.
one of your many.
Anyways.
Seriously, y'all.
Anyways, what we tell the people what we drinking on today.
So we have, a couple of versions. Aaron's is a mocktail. He's gone.
It's almost gone.
It's
I really
almost
drink
gone.
my drink on tails from the shaker.
I don't even know if we call yours a mocktail because he's on this. He's being very healthy. Don't want
That's
any
right.
sugar
I'm
or
back
anything
in my
like
back.
that. Yep. And so you're back in your back. Anyway, so we used a sparkling water that was blackberry and citrus flavor and just spruced it up with muddled blackberries and mint and lime. And Aaron did a little bit of work on it. So, since that's his cooking.
Ooh, shade.
Did I do something?
Davia.
No,
Okay.
you're the one.
Okay.
Last season, you were like, I'm cooking, y'all. I'm cooking. People says I can't cook. And what you did, it was similar.
Okay.
Yeah, that was a little shady.
Man, that's a little
jab,
jab, Dave. That's wow.
That was a little shady. But anywho, sorry
a little bit of cousin TJ rubbing off on you. TJ, I blame you, TJ. You lucky you're not here today. You're supposed to be here, but she.
Oh,
okay.
My nephew T. Mine is an actual cocktail, but Aaron shook it.
I did.
Shook it well. It's nice and mixed. I've used Grey Goose vodka, also muddled some blackberries, a little bit of vodka, a little bit of simple syrup, lemonade. I like lemonade to kind of cut the alcohol a little bit, and topped it with ginger beer. We garnished it with mint and lime. Very, very tasty. All right.
Cheers.
Well, cheers. All right.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, this has been another episode, the ending of season 3. Make sure y'all follow Davia. Stay tuned. Season 4, I'm telling you, it's about to be
lit.
Literally lit. I'm saying so.
So stay tuned this fall, but we're gonna keep you engaged.
Yes, indeed.
We got some stuff coming.
Until next time,
All right.
y'all be safe, be blessed. Peace.